Welcome to Crimepedia. I am your host this week. My name is Morgan. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And with me, as always, is my true crime best friend. It is the lovely Cherry. Hello, Cherry.
Hello. Welcome to our little podcast.
Welcome, welcome. We are now less than a week away from CrimeCon UK.
This time next week, we will be doing fun stuff. It's Sunday, so there'll be some good stuff going on. I did post the schedule. There's loads of good stuff. And good news is, if you still haven't got your ticket, CrimeCon UK have just released Sunday tickets. So if you only want to come for one day and you can't or don't want to come for the whole weekend, you can get yourself Sunday only tickets. So if you go over to their website, crimecon.co.uk, you can click on Sunday tickets as well. And then you don't have to come all weekend if you can't make it.
Now, does our code work for Sunday tickets?
Does indeed. So you can use a code and get yourself a discount. So if you use the code Crimepedia at checkout, you get yourself 10% off of the ticket price. So it's well worth it. Sunday has got some absolutely brilliant speakers. There's some really good stuff going on. So make sure you if you want to go and you've got, why wouldn't you? It's brilliant. You'll love it. There's loads of really good stuff going on. So yeah, get access to Podcast Row and you get to meet lots of different famous people and authors and lots of stuff going on.
Look, I'm flying in from the United States via Switzerland just to go to CrimeCon UK, so you should too.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be really good.
Wonderful. So how about we get into this week's case? This week's case is, and I think I've told you this earlier this week, probably the craziest case that we've ever done.
Exciting. Okay. And it's the fact that you just said that you can't turn back after getting halfway through it. So that's interesting to me. So let's go. Yes. Tell me about this case.
Let's do it. It's been 10 years since Brittney Wood walked out of her mother's home and was never seen or heard from again. The search for Brittney would lead to numerous twists and turns, which shocked and confused the public. Had Brittney simply run away, or was her disappearance a part of another horrendous crime, which would become one of Alabama's most notorious cases? This is Crimepedia, and this is What Happened to Brittney. All right, Cherry. 19-year-old Brittney Wood was the oldest daughter of Chessie Wood and Wallace Wally Hankey. Brittney was a fighter who did not like to see those she loved hurt. She loved children, especially her daughter Peyton, who she had at the age of 17. Now, throughout her life, Brittney would face many challenges. At an early age, Brittney would begin to be molested by her maternal grandmother's boyfriend, Ronald Wayne Robertson. Brittney would eventually confide in a church youth director about what was happening, which would lead to Ronald being arrested and found guilty of first-degree rape and first-degree sexual assault.
Oh, wow.
He would be sentenced to life plus 10 years in prison. As she got older, Brittney did not have a stable home life. She was considered a free spirit who would bounce around, staying at the homes of family and friends. Brittney would also face both physical and verbal abuse from an ex-boyfriend by the name of Andy Hamilton, who was the father of Brittney's daughter. Now, according to Mobile County Assistant District Attorney Nikki Patterson, the past trauma in Brittney's life would lead her to developing substance abuse issues. So, a very rough start in life for Brittney. Now, between 7 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. on May 30th, 2012, Brittney would leave her mother's house on Leonard Drive in Tillman's Corner near Mobile, Alabama. Chessie would state that Brittney seemed aggravated or frustrated as she left, telling Chessie, "I just don't think you'd understand, Mom, but I'll be back," when asked where she was going. Now, Brittney had packed a tote bag, and Chessie believed that she would be staying with a friend named Courtney. Chessie would watch as Brittney headed down the street on foot towards Quimby Drive. This would be the last time anyone would report seeing Brittney alive.
And she was 17? at
She
this
was
point?
19 at the time.
19
No,
at the
she was
time. Okay, so she was
19.
17
Yeah.
when she had her child. So her child was 2 at this point.
Child was 2 at the time.
Okay.
Yes, that's
Right.
correct.
Okay.
Now, on June 1st, Chessie would start to worry about the whereabouts of her daughter. At around noon that day, Brittany's uncle, Donald Donnie Holland, had been shot in an apparent suicide attempt. Family members began calling Brittany to let her know what had happened, but their calls went unanswered. Believing that she still might be with her friend, Chessie decided to give her a call. Courtney told Chessie that Brittany had not been with her, but had been picked up by her uncle Donnie the night she left. This would be confirmed by cell phone records. On May 30th, phone records indicated that Brittany had made several phone calls to Donnie throughout the day, with the last 2 being placed at 7:14 and 7:19 p.m. Shortly after the last call, it was believed that Donnie picked up Brittany and the two drove home to the home of Jennifer Gonzalez Moore on Waterworld Road near the Styx River in the Robertsdale, Wilcox area of Baldwin County, Alabama. At the time, Donnie had been living at the home. Now, throughout the evening, Brittany would exchange numerous texts with multiple persons, including a friend named Bradley Rivers. Now, when Bradley was questioned about these texts, he claimed that he did not remember what those conversations were about and that he had no longer had access to that phone. Very strange, right?
Mm.
Now, the last phone call to Brittany's phone that did not go to voicemail occurred at 11:29 p.m. on May 30th. After this call, all calls made to Brittany would go to voicemail. Now, at 12:07 a.m. on May 31st, Brittany's voicemail was accessed from her phone and was pinged in the area of Jennifer Moore's house.
Okay.
Now, finally, at 1:47 a.m., the last communication from Brittany's phone was a text message to Bradley Rivers. Now, this message, her phone actually pinged off of a tower near a TA travel center in Grand Bay, Alabama, which is roughly 50 miles to the west of Moore's home near the Alabama-Mississippi state line. Now, there's a possibility that this final ping may have been a repeat text
Yeah,
prior
I
to
was
the
going to
battery
ask
being
that.
removed.
Yeah. I was going to ask if it was a repeat one. Okay.
Yeah, it could have been a repeat text. So, and it's very possible that Brittany may not physically had her phone at that time.
Yeah, I've also been reading recently about cell phone, because that always fascinates me, the cell phone pinging, and particularly in the last case that we looked at, then they don't always ping from the nearest tower to you. It's from the nearest available tower that can accept and forward on the messages. So it might be that it's pinging from a tower, but you might not necessarily be closest to that actual tower. It's just found the signal to the next available tower. So they're not always 100%, but they're usually pretty close.
That's absolutely true.
Okay.
I think with her case, I think with this last ping being where it's located, we know that her phone has left the area of that Jennifer Moore's home, right?
Okay.
So we're talking, so it's about 50 miles between the two.
Yeah.
And
15
it's on
or
the
50?
50 miles.
Oh, okay. 50 miles.
Yeah.
That's that's like an hour's drive roughly. If you're going normal speed limit. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, on June 6th and 7th, members of the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office would begin to search the area around the Waterworld Road property that Brittany had reportedly been brought to. Now, while the Sheriff's Office did remove a bag of clothes from the home, they would state that they found no evidence in the search and did not believe that Brittany was still in Baldwin County.
So Waterworld Park is where Donnie was, is that right?
That is correct.
That's Donnie's. Yep. Okay, so that's Uncle Donnie's. Is it an actual uncle or is it like uncle?
It is his. So her mom's sister is married to Donnie.
Oh, okay. So it is actual family then. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yep. I didn't know if it was like one of those uncles, Okay.
Yes, exactly. Now, a few days later, it was announced that the Kloss Kids Foundation would assist in the search for Brittney. Now, this is a foundation that helps organize searches for missing children and works in conjunction with local law enforcement.
Okay.
On June 13th and 14th, the Kloss Kids Foundations would get help from more than 70 volunteers to search a 5-mile area around the Sixth River. Now, they would also be joined by personnel from multiple search and rescue units from both Alabama and Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Now, despite the large-scale search, nothing of value was found. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, within the week of the searches and her going missing, the way that people would look at this case took a drastic turn.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at this point, I do want to give a trigger warning to people out there. So just heads up, this might not be subject matter that you can listen to, or so just listener discretion at this point.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
On June 19th,
Well, what if I can't listen?
you can listen.
What if
You have
I'm off now? See ya.
You don't
Okay.
have a choice.
No,
You don't have a choice.
I've got to listen. Okay. Okay.
Now, on June 19th, 2012, one of Brittney's other uncles, Randall Scott Wood, and Dustin Kent, were arrested and charged with sodomy after a nearly 4-month investigation in Baldwin County.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in addition to sodomy charges, Scott Wood would also be charged with sexual abuse and incest, and Dustin Kent was also charged with rape.
Okay. Yeah.
So this investigation actually would begin back on February 26, 2012, after Scott Wood reported family sex abuse to law enforcement. Okay?
So Scott Wood is the victim.
He is not the victim at
Okay.
all.
So he's reported it, but he's not
He
a victim.
reported it back in February. He is not a victim.
Right. Okay.
He is a perpetrator.
Right.
Let's not
Okay.
get that wrong. He is a perpetrator. Okay.
Okay. And he reported it.
He reported it.
Okay. Yeah.
At the time, Scott was living with Donnie and Donnie's wife, Wendy Holland. Okay. Wendy Holland is Brittney's mom's sister, right? So
Right,
she is
okay.
Wendy. She's actually Wendy Wood Holland. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he told investigators that he had found messages between Donnie and a 12-year-old relative of a sexual nature.
Oh, God. Okay.
Okay. Now, during the course of interviewing with police, Scott would admit to his own involvement and would accept a plea deal for his continued cooperation with police.
Clever. Okay.
Now, investigators determined that Donnie Holland was the ringleader behind a inter-family child sex ring.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this involved at least 8 members of Brittney's family and 4 close family friends.
Right.
In addition to Scott Wood and Dustin Kent, police would arrest Donald Paul Holland Jr., who is Brittney's cousin, Donnie Holland's son. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They would arrest Wendy Wood Holland,
Mm-hmm.
who is Brittney's aunt, Chessie's sister's, Donnie's wife.
Mm-hmm.
They would arrest Mindy Wood Kent, who is Brittney's aunt, Chessie's sister, also Wendy's twin sister, and Dustin Kent's wife.
Okay.
Stick with me. I mean, this is really, really confusing. There's a lot of names here.
It
Just
is.
stick with me, okay? They would also arrest Derek Wood, who is Brittney's older brother.
Okay.
They would arrest a William Brownlee, who was a close friend of Donnie and Wendy Holland.
Mm-hmm.
They would arrest James Kumba, who was married into the Wood family. They would arrest Nelton Butch Morgan, who was a close friend of Donnie. Jennifer Gonzalez Moore, who we already mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And Chessie Wood,
Oh, and the
who is
mum.
Brittney's mom.
Yeah.
Now, these arrests were made over the course of a year in connection to the sex ring.
Okay.
Okay.
So the one common denominator in all of this, in the center of this, is Donnie, because
Yes.
it all comes back to Donnie. They're all it's
Yes.
Donnie's son, Mindy the aunt, Derek Wood her brother. This all comes back. His wife, his son, her cousin gets, and then you've got her mum. So it all comes back to sort of like he seems to be the ringleader person of interest here. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, police would allege that the members of the sex ring would provide their children to each other or to other adults for exploitation.
Wow.
Do you want me to read that again?
No, I think I got it the first time.
So this wasn't
crazy.
This isn't a situation where you have some rogue family members that are abusing, cousins, and that their parents have no idea that this is going on or this happened.
This is like swapping the kids around.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. Now, in regards to Chessie had been implicated in a sexual assault of a 13-year-old
Jesus
female. Okay. Now, police would state that Chessie had been in a sexual relationship with Donnie.
Wait. So her sister's husband?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
And
can I ask a question quickly? Sorry.
Yes.
Can I just ask a question? What kind of people are these? Like, are we talking like people with jobs? Because I know not all abusers are like trailer park kind of people. Like that they're not all down and out people. Some of them are like sophisticated. There are sophisticated rackets and rings with this kind of thing. What kind of family are we talking about? Are we talking like a Brendan Dassey kind of family? That kind of that kind of thing. Is it?
Kind of. Yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that they are like the upper echelon of society.
Well, no, I didn't think they would be, but I know that sometimes these paedophile rings and stuff, they are members, like high members. You have clergy and you have police chiefs and things like that are involved in some kind of rackets and child abuse scandals. I mean, God, you have royalty involved in some kind of, that kind of stuff. So just kind of wondering what kind of people these people are. Are we talking about like, is it a sophisticated thing, or is this like a family that nobody really bothers with and that they're not really they're not really integrated into society? They live out the way. I don't know much about Alabama, but is this somewhere that would be off the beaten track, or is this somewhere in a normal town?
No, so they're in the Mobile, Alabama area, which is, it's a sizable city. I mean, it's not a metropolitan area, but it's a good sized city.
But are they like away? Are they like on a farm area, or are they like down a track, or is this somewhere that they've got next door neighbors?
They have next door neighbors,
right?
For the most part.
Okay.
But this is what's interesting. It's like people. It seems like a lot of them have multiple properties in multiple places where they stay.
Right.
So they might have like. It seems like a lot of them have a main home.
Yeah.
Right? But then they have secondary property in like Baldwin County.
Yeah, so we're talking about people that have got some money then, if they've got multiple properties.
Yeah, they do. And so in addition to this sex ring, Donnie's also was a known drug dealer. So he was basically he would basically be the guy who you go to.
Yeah, he's got
within
means
the family and the friends. So he had
money.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. I was just wondering, like, what kind of people we're talking about, because like with the whole Brendan Dassey and his uncle kind of thing, they were kind of on their own. They're on their own property. They had people like neighbors that they knew, but they weren't anywhere near neighbors. So I was just wondering if this is something that was going on in a property that the family used out in the middle of nowhere, or if this is something that's just generally happening because they're all mixed up in this, like the whole family. So I was just wondering how they go about this kind of thing.
I mean, I don't want to get too far into it because it's that in itself is a crazy story. But during the investigations, investigators had determined that this sort of thing, this sex ring, had been multi-generational. So this
Oh,
had
wow.
been
Okay.
going on. They were able to go back at least 3 generations where this occurred. So some of these people, so like Wendy, Mindy, and Chessie, it's all assumed that they had all been
Yeah, like sexually exploited
sexually
at a
assault,
young
yeah,
age.
at a young age.
And so they've gone
So
on to then do it again, their next
because
generation. I see.
I bel yeah, because I think it's just became just normal course for this family. Like
Right.
this is
This is
what
what
we
they
do.
do. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. That
So
makes a bit more sense then. I just want to try and understand what kind of family we're talking
mhm,
about here.
yeah.
Because this obviously isn't a normal everyday family.
Yeah, no, so, like, Derek Wood, who is Brittany's older brother, I believe when he was arrested, he was 21.
Okay.
He actually had started to be groomed and sexually exploited at the age of 6.
Jesus. Okay.
And so they basically would use him, and they would, do stuff like bribe him with money to do sexual acts with other
What is
family members.
wrong with these people?
Mhm. And so by the time he was,
They
of
learn,
age,
don't they? Yeah.
18, 19,
Mm.
20. At that, even though I think he at some point he probably realized that it was not right,
Mm.
he was being he was being paid and given drugs in order to
Yeah.
continue
Yeah.
to
So he knows how to make his
to
money.
yeah, so that's how he was making his money, right?
Mm.
And so it's like, okay, well, I got to do these irreprehensible
Mm.
acts, but I'm getting my drugs, I'm getting my money.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, that makes a bit more sense now.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. It's a disgusting situation. It's terrible
Mm.
that this went on and this went on for so long.
Yeah, definitely. And that nobody spotted it.
Mhm. Now, just to make you feel better, what some of these people, Derek, I believe, ended up getting 3 years in prison.
Okay.
Him and also Donald Paul Holland Jr. They're both about the same age, and I believe they got the least amount, which was about 3 years.
Okay.
And I believe they both had been deemed that they were juveniles at the time, so their records ended up getting sealed, even though they
Ugh.
do have to file as
Yeah.
um, predators now.
Hmm.
Most everyone else got anywhere from 17 to 20 years.
Wow.
Okay, the two longest sentences were actually given out to Wendy Wood Holland and Mindy Wood Kent, the twin sisters. I
Really?
believe I believe Mindy Wood Kent ended up getting 40 years for her
Wow.
crimes.
They must have had lots of evidence on her then to give her 40
Y-
years.
yes. Now Wendy Wood Holland was given 219 years.
Ooh, okay. Wow. That's crazy.
So those two,
That evidence must have been damning then, if that's the case. She got
yeah,
200 years.
yes.
That's it. That's
So
bye-bye life.
I mean, so it's not only just exploitation. I mean, it's sexual exploitation, it's
Yeah.
sexual abuse. They're
Yeah.
also making videos of this and taking pictures of all this. So they're making
It's
child pornography.
sick.
It is very sick. Okay. Now, according to former Baldwin County Detective Eric Windberg, Brittany had also been a victim. And at the time of her disappearance, investigators were attempting to contact her in regards to the allegations.
Mm.
Now, despite this, law enforcement agencies have officially maintained that the Brittany Wood missing person case and the child sex abuse investigations are not linked.
Oh, they don't think it's linked.
I don't know why, and I'll tell you why,
Well,
okay?
I suppose if they're looking at this case and they're looking at it that she has been going through all this time and nobody else has died and they've been doing this for generations, it's not
Mhm,
necessarily a violent. I mean, obviously it's a sexual, it's sexual abuse, but it's not necessarily violent sexual abuse. I mean, I don't know how young it
mhm.
starts. I mean, obviously you're talking babies and children. It's sick and it's, abhorrent, but
It is. It's horrific.
it
It's
is
horrific.
horrific, but it might not necessarily be violent.
Mm.
So I wonder if
Yeah,
maybe they're
possibly.
looking at that. There's no evidence of any violence at all over this whole thing, and maybe her going missing. And maybe that's why they started thinking. I mean, I would straight away think, oh, it's got to be linked, and go through every possibility because of what she's been going through.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So let me tell you why it could possibly be involved, okay?
Okay, yeah.
So we've gone through all this.
Uh-huh.
At this point, I think we need to rewind a little bit and go back to the suicide of Donnie Holland.
Mm.
So we mentioned it, right? So we know all
Yeah.
the stuff going on with Donnie, and we know that on June 1st, Donnie ends up getting shot in an apparent suicide.
Mm.
Okay. Now, Donnie, once again, the assumed ringleader of the child sex ring, and he was also one of the last persons to have been with Brittney before she disappeared. Now, Eric Winberg, once again, that's the Baldwin County former Baldwin County detective. Now, he was assigned to investigate the allegations against Donnie Holland on March 5th, 2012. Now,
Right.
shortly after, law enforcement agents would visit the home of Donnie and Wendy Holland to question them about the allegations.
Right.
So, so at this point, the two of them are fully aware of these allegations and the investigations against them. Okay.
Right.
We also know that before she disappeared, Baldwin County investigators were attempting to contact Brittney about the allegations as well, and that there are text messages showing that she was willing to talk to them. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now, on May 27th, this is just 3 days before she would disappear, Brittney had a conversation with a cousin on Facebook Messenger, in which the cousin stated that she had been raped by Donnie Holland, Dustin Kent, and Scott Wood. So,
God.
from this, we know that Brittney is fully aware of the allegations
Mm.
and that she had been aware of these prior to her disappearance. Now, at 7 p.m. on May 30th, Eric Winberg met with Wendy Holland at her home to discuss the investigation. Now, remember, at around the same time, Brittney had been making calls back and forth with Donnie
Oh,
and would be
yeah.
picked up by him shortly
Yeah.
thereafter. Now, I believe that Donnie would have known about the meeting between Wendy and Detective Winberg by the time he picked up Brittney. Okay.
Yeah. It's likely, very likely.
Yes. Now, we also know that Donnie and Brittney would then go to the home of Jennifer Gonzalez Moore,
More,
who
yeah.
we now know was involved in
Was
the
also
child
involved.
sex ring.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, that same evening on May 30th, okay, cell phone records would indicate that Wendy would also make her way to Jennifer Moore's home sometime after speaking to Detective Winberg.
So Wendy's going there as well. So you've got Wendy there, Jennifer there,
Mm-hmm.
Donnie there,
Mm-hmm.
and also Brittney there.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So you got
Okay.
3 abusers and an abused person.
And a victim, yes.
Knowing
Correct.
that she's spoken to a detective.
Or detectives are wanting to speak to her, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in the early morning hours of May 31st, Donnie would return to the Mobile, Alabama area, where his cell phone pinged a tower near Chessie's home. Now, Chessie had speculated that Donnie may actually have gone to the home of Dustin and Mindy Kent, who lived nearby.
Right. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Now, on June 1st, Wendy Holland would make a call to Eric Winberg to report that Donnie was acting erratically and contemplating suicide. Baldwin County Sheriff's Office would put a bolo out for Donnie, which stated that he was possibly in the Fish River area off of County Road 32 and was wanted for questioning.
Did they do forensics on his car?
Some.
And that shows nothing to do with her.
We'll get to it. Oh, well,
okay.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Now, while the bolo originally stated that it was unknown if he possessed any weapons, it was later updated with a statement, wife advised that he does not possess any guns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At 12:02 p.m., Fairhope Police Department would receive a 911 call from an unknown individual about a suicide attempt. According to the 911 records, Donnie Holland was identified as the victim, and that at the time he was still breathing on his own. Now, it can be assumed that the call was made by either Wendy Holland or Jennifer Gonzalez Moore, who were both at the scene when police arrived. I believe the call was actually most likely made by Jennifer because it was later determined that Wendy had manipulated the scene and deleted at least 4 text messages from Donnie's phone.
How do you know it was her that did the deleting?
Or
what makes you think it's her and not Jennifer?
Not Jennifer.
Yeah,
that's what police say. Police.
Okay. So police are saying that. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yep.
That's
okay.
correct.
I get what you mean.
Okay.
I didn't know if you had
Now,
an inside scoop there.
No inside scoop. That's based off of what the police have stated.
The police are saying. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right.
Yep. Now, when police arrived on scene, they found Donnie sitting in the driver's seat of a black Suburban SUV. He was still moving and breathing. There was a gunshot wound to the right side of his head, just behind his ear. Okay. A .25 caliber Raven pistol was located by Donnie's feet between the seat and the center console. Reports would note that there was noticeable blood splatter on the muzzle of the gun, as well as a blood smear on the grip next to the serial number.
It's small.
It is very small. It's a small gun.
So like a handheld, like man's hand, long like big man's hand. It would fit like in the palm of your hand. It's a really small gun. So we're not talking like rifle or like a bigger gun, like a farm gun or something. We're talking a little small compact gun.
And honestly, it's not a type of gun that you'd really want to shoot yourself with in a suicide attempt.
That's what I was just thinking. It's a strange gun to...
It's
like more like a
caliber.
Woman's gun. Like a protection
you
kind of like, is it? Because like sometimes you can get certain weapons that a man would carry more than a woman just because of its like power or size or whatever. And then you've got the more convenient ones, the concealed weapons that perhaps would be more favorable for women. This kind of looks, I don't know anything about guns, so please don't take, this is just my opinion and just my observations. It looks like a very small compact gun that would be easily concealable in say a purse or a a handheld bag or something like that. It's very small, something you might be able to put in the glove box or central console of your car. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
And also he's a drug dealer as well, isn't he? So he's also got obviously dodgy connections in which I know his wife says that he hasn't got a gun and doesn't own any guns. But I mean, he's dealing drugs. Generally, they usually have weapons about them because of the nature of their but that surprises me because it's not the sort of gun I would have imagined a drug dealing man to have,
That's because that's not his gun.
No, I did think that. It doesn't look like the kind of gun that a drug-dealing man would carry.
No, it is not Donnie's gun. We'll get to that here very, very shortly, all right?
Okay.
Now, Donnie's hands would be bagged in order for them to be tested later for gunshot residue. However, the bags would later be removed at the hospital and no testing was completed, all right?
Come on.
This was done because law enforcement had ruled the incident as suicide, and they said that no testing needed to be done.
Seriously? They just rule it as suicide and then just, no, let's not test anything. We'll rule it as a suicide based on what? I mean, surely you'd need to test to make sure that the guy's got gunshot residue on his hand, first of all, to definitely determine that he shot the bloody gun.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's crazy. How can you do that? How can they determine that's definitely a suicide? That's ridiculous.
Especially, do you remember where I said the gunshot wound was?
Yeah. It doesn't make any very much sense.
Behind the ear.
Behind his ear.
Behind the ear.
That's not a usual suicide kind of... There's not a usual suicide kind of... And it was definitely that gun that it was definitely that gun that was shot. Right, okay. So the bullets definitely come from that gun. Okay.
That's correct. Now, Donnie would die in the hospital on June 4th. According to Chessie, prior to his death, while Donnie was unresponsive in the hospital, his vital signs would spike anytime someone would ask him about Brittney, which is just an interesting little note. On July 20th, investigators would confirm that the gun found in Donnie's SUV had belonged to Brittney.
That's what I
According to
was saying,
friends
a
and
girly
family.
gun. Okay.
Now, according
Yeah.
to friends and family, Brittney did carry the gun on her person for protection since she
Yeah.
had many obsessed boyfriends. It was also stated that Brittney would normally only carry 2 bullets in the gun, and
Mm.
law enforcement officials would confirm that the gun only had 1 bullet left after Donnie was shot.
Okay.
All right. Now, police officials have gone on record stating that they do not believe that Brittney is alive. There's been many searches that have been completed around that Grand Bay area,
Mm.
but to this day, there's been no signs of Brittney at all. Nothing has been found. There have been no hits, absolutely nothing. So while I think it's very likely that Brittney was killed and disposed of, there's a part of me that would love to imagine Brittney shooting Donnie in the back of the head and getting rid of that piece of shit and taking off and living some great life somewhere else.
But would she leave her daughter behind in the same
She would
situation
not
that she's
leave
going
her
to?
daughter.
That's what I was just thinking. Is she going to leave her kid behind in the same
No.
situation that she grew up in with the same kind of adults that have abused her and passed her around? And would she leave her 2-year-old daughter there? It's unlikely
Nope.
that she would just cut and run
Unlikely.
and leave her there. Well, no, you said
Yeah.
that she packed a tote bag. So a tote bag's not very big. So I'm
It's not.
guessing from what she's packed, it's like a day or two's worth of clothes and if she packed toiletries and stuff. So we're not talking about her planning on going away for a long time. She hasn't taken her daughter. She's not planned to kidnap her daughter and get rid of her as well. Take her away.
No. The daughter, she left the daughter just a day or two before with with Andy, the daughter's husband, with his mom. So she's with grandma.
So with a completely different family member.
Yes.
So she hasn't left her daughter in her family's hands. She's left her daughter in her boyfriend's family's hand that have not got anything to do with sexual abuse or anything like that.
That's correct.
So that then makes me think it is possible she took off and left, shot Donnie and left, because she hasn't. I would say it's really unlikely for her to leave her kid in the capable hands of her family because she knows what her family are capable of. But to leave them with another family that don't have any history of this, that are not connected to this whatsoever, I could understand her leaving the baby there and then going.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Because who's to say that family don't know exactly what's going on?
Because here's the thing.
I would have had that family under surveillance after that for a long time.
Oh no, absolutely. Because if you're Brittney and you know what's happened to you and you know what's happened to your cousins,
you're not going to leave your kids there.
The last thing that she's going to do is leave her daughter there. She's going to want to have her daughter to get away.
Yeah, and then if she can't have her daughter to get away, and she obviously is put her daughter in safe hands, so she knows her daughter's safe, she's going to grow up in a good family. She knows that if she gets caught for this, she's going to be in jail. So she's not going to see her daughter, she's going to be living in jail. So she takes off to start a new life somewhere. That's it's a plausible explanation.
It is.
Because it's not like against the realms of possibility whatsoever. It's a very plausible explanation. It's a very plausible, answer.
Yeah, there's really two options in this situation. A, that she shoots Donnie,
killed him, and she's gone.
Gone. B, Donnie and his ring kill her, get rid of the body. But the problem is that there has been nothing.
And they kill her for what?
Nothing found to silence her, I guess. But there's nothing that indicates that she was killed. There was no blood found. There's nothing to indicate that she was shot.
But then,
could she have been strangled?
If you suffocate somebody or strangle somebody, there is going to be no blood. There won't be any evidence. I mean, you can cover up evidence of a scuffle over time. If it was in the woods somewhere or it was out somewhere, she could have been in the boot of a vehicle and off up the freeway or whatever you guys call it and gone out of county and got rid of somewhere else. So It depends. That whole family are embroiled in secrets. The whole family. So you're not just talking those 3 people. We're talking everyone in that family's got something to lose. They
Everyone.
all know that they're going to
Mhm.
be in trouble. So if you've got this one loose cannon that you need to get rid of because she's going to talk, every single person in that family could be an accomplice because they've all got something to hide. So it's not necessarily Donnie or Jennifer or, do I think Chessie was involved in it? Possibly not. It's her daughter. That would be difficult, but
Mhm.
this Randall Scott
But
Wood,
here's
this Dustin Kent, this Mindy, this other cousin Donnie, Derek. I mean, you've got all these people that are involved in this that are guilty.
yeah. And they all know, they all have their kids, right? And they all
Yeah.
know their kids are being abused, and they're letting this happen, and they're
Yeah,
passing them around. So
exactly. So
does
everybody's
so
guilty in this.
there's nothing for me to say Chessie had no idea that any of this was going on.
Mm,
Absolutely not.
mm.
Right? She knows. Chessie knows her. We know that Chessie knows that Brittany had
Yeah,
been abused by
yeah,
grandma's boyfriend. Right? We know. So we know that happens. There's nothing with this family. This is like a family secret that everyone knows. It's like when you're in this family, this is how it goes, and this is what happens. Chessie herself was a victim.
that's right. So they're all involved in this. So they've all
Mhm.
got something to hide. So you've got now a multitude of people that could have got rid of her because they've all got something to lose from this. So, unless you're going to search every single family member's car, which they should have done, every single means of transport that they've got. I mean, she doesn't necessarily have to leave a trace of any blood or anything. They could have strangled her. They could have suffocated her, put her in the back of a car, and off she goes. And she could be anywhere,
Yeah,
because they're not
she could
looking at
be.
the rest of the family. They're only looking at this Donnie, this Jennifer. They're only at the moment they're only looking at those 2 and 3.
I mean, I guess is there a possibility she was trafficked? Was
Again,
she a victim of sex trafficking?
I mean, do they have the means for that? I mean, do they know a sex trafficking ring? I know that they do it within the family, but do they know other people that do that? That's another possibility to look into. I mean, the guy's a drug dealer. People that
Mhm.
are desperate for drugs will do anything because they're desperate for
Oh
drugs.
yeah,
They're desperate. So
and
this
that's what some of
there's
them did. Some of them with their kids. Someone was like, here's my kids. I need drugs.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, you've got a whole web of people that could have helped him out with this, that have all got something to lose. It's a desperate time for
It,
them.
and this is what's difficult for me to comprehend is the fact that Brittany, who we know is a victim, why she went with Donnie. Like what was going on? Why did she go with Donnie on that night? Is it a fact that she, even though she's a victim, maybe she still
Well, she doesn't feel
hasn't
in danger,
come
does
to?
she? She's not
No,
in
obviously
danger. It's
not.
her family, so she doesn't feel like she's in danger with him because he's
Yeah.
he's her family. So she's going with him. She's not like really scared of him. This is something that's been happening for years.
Has she just not come to grips with like the severity of the situation? And
So is she
yeah.
desperate because her daughter's, they threatened something
Mhm.
to do with her daughter? So could it be that? Mother's instinct is pretty strong. Your protection,
Yeah.
that feeling of protecting your kids and stuff. Obviously not in Chessie's case, but is she trying to shield her daughter from something like that? Is that why she's gone
Mhm.
with him, because he's threatened her? You just don't know. This is such a convoluted case, and so many people. There's so many ways in and out of this. It's just a mess. It's an absolute
Yeah.
mess. The spider diagram for this must have been ridiculous.
And there's a lot of stuff that in this case it just is sickening.
Mm.
But like I said, so Wendy Holland, who's in jail for 219 years, despite getting 219 years, refuses to say anything about Brittany. When asked what happened to Brittany or where she is, she refuses to answer. It's like so she shuts down. She wants nothing to do with it, and she has been less than helpful.
What the hell is she? She hasn't got anything to lose. She's got a good bargaining chip
Exactly.
there for
Yeah.
for less time or a deal, some sort of deal, but she's not saying a thing.
hmm Yeah. Now, of
Interesting.
course, since she's been in jail, there's, of course, jailhouse rumors and things
Mm.
that have come out. And one of the rumors that at least one jailhouse informant has come forward with is that Wendy was jealous of Brittany, and she was jealous about how close that she was with Donnie. So Donnie and Brittany were
Oh,
very
okay,
close.
understandable. Yeah.
So they were very close. So um, the rumor is that when she found out that Brittany was with Donnie at Jennifer Gonzalez Moore's house, that
Mm.
she went there, and it was actually Wendy Holland who shot and killed Brittany because of this jealousy that she had towards her.
Yeah. Okay.
Which, I mean,
But that's
there's
a bit. I
nothing to
mean,
indicate that
yeah.
happened.
What's gonna? Yeah, exactly. And that's a huge. Usually, something like that happens in a culmination of events. Usually, there's events that lead up to this, which it doesn't seem to be. There isn't anything particularly that's happened. I mean, has he favored abusing her over other people? I mean, how can you have a romantic sexual relationship with a man who is grooming kids and having sex with children? And I just don't get that.
But
You've got to be
she's doing it
sick.
too. She's doing
Exactly.
it
You've just
too,
got to be
though.
sick, haven't you? I mean, it's just like this
Yeah,
is Myra Hindley and her husband, Ian Brady kind of shit. It's just sick. It's really
yeah.
bad.
So it's not like she just was. It's not like Wendy and Mindy were just sitting back while their husbands did this. Like it wasn't like
No,
the old boys
that's
club where it's
right.
like
No,
they are
they're in there as
engaging
well.
in sexual assault of
But
children.
they're all on drugs as well, aren't they? This whole thing is surrounded
Oh,
by them.
probably.
They're all. That's right, and they're all. Jeez, what a mess! What an absolute
It's
mess.
absolutely messed up. And I don't want to sit here and say, well, I can understand if this was like a generational thing, how maybe within the family they think that this is okay. I don't want to say that at all. But what blows my mind is that these people, these friends, and these men who marry into the family who get
Yes,
sucked into this culture.
yes, yeah, definitely. I mean,
Wouldn't
because
you
there
go?
is there.
I mean, wouldn't you go like you marry this woman and the woman's like, hey, um,
Here's my 8-year-old
our needs,
nephew.
yeah, let's have sexual relations with them. Wouldn't you just stop and say, wait a second, what the
That's
fuck
right.
is going on?
Yeah, that's right, and run a mile to the police station. I see
There
what
is
you mean because
something wrong.
psychologically, I mean, they've done studies, and people that are that do abuse, a lot of them have been abused, and so they go on to be an
Hmm.
abuser. And so I can understand how this has happened, how it's evolved. But like you say, and like I was going to say, if you're married into the family and you've grown up in a normal family and you come in and you see these people passing these kids around and you're like, what? No, I'm not
What?
having anything
There's
to do
something
with a
wrong with
child.
this.
What the hell are you
Yeah,
doing, you weirdos? And I would be straight to the police
yeah,
station and explain straight what's been happening. So I don't get that. I don't understand how this all hasn't blown apart before. Because I mean, that's
yeah.
crazy. That is crazy.
No, it absolutely is.
Mm,
If you have Peacock here in the United States, I don't know if it's on anywhere in England, if it's on
mm,
another streaming platform.
mm-hmm,
But if you have Peacock in the United States, there is actually a 3-part documentary about the Britney's disappearance and a lot more about the case, this Wood family sex ring.
mm,
It's called Monster in the Shadows, which I did watch, and it actually made me more disgusted watching the documentary, because when you're reading something, it's different, I guess, than like when you're getting visuals and you're hearing it and they're talking
mm,
about it
yeah.
openly. But
It was
it's
actually
very
featured here in the
interesting.
Daily Mail in 2021. In August 2021,
Ah, yeah.
there was actually a article about it in the Daily Mail when she talks about the family's incestuous sex ring.
Hmm. Yeah. So basically, it's a lot of it is from
Monster in the
Chetsy's point of view.
Shadows.
Yes,
That's what it's
Monster in the
called here.
Shadows.
Monster in the Shadows. Yeah.
I will say that because a lot of it is from Chetsy's point of view and from like
Mm,
her she's kind of narrating her story. I think
mm,
you have to take it with a grain of salt a little bit. Now, do want to make it clear that Chessie was never found guilty of any sort of sexual abuse or sexual misconduct or sexual exploitation. She did plead guilty to child endangerment,
Mm-hmm.
and served no
Absolutely.
jail time. Served no jail time for that. So, so she did plead guilty and was found guilty of child endangerment, which, yeah, absolutely, because you have two kids that were sexually assaulted and violated of yours. So
I would like to think that Brittney is living somewhere happy and that her daughter is being taken to visit her by her
mhm,
partner's family now and then. I
yeah,
would like to think that that is what happened and she's just left this whole life behind her. She's shot him
yeah.
and she's bolted. I would like to think that that's what's happened.
hmm Just imagining her, she was the one that she put an
The
end
one
to
that
it.
got away. Yeah, exactly. The one that stopped it all and got away. That would
Mhm,
be, that would be a great, great ending to this story.
yeah, and I would say honestly, at this point, if that's what happened, and she shows back up one day and says, "Yeah, I'm still alive. Here I am, and I shot Donnie," no charges against her.
You
No
can't
charges
do
against
that.
her.
You can't do that. No matter what he
Yeah, you
did,
can.
she still murdered
No.
him. You
Mm-mm.
can't just give
He
someone a
deserved it.
pass. Yeah, but that's
He
not the
deserved it.
point. That's not the point. You can't just
Yeah,
go
no.
killing people
I am.
because they deserve
Mm-mm.
it.
I'm giving Brittany a pass, and there's people out there listening right now who are with me. There are people out there that are with me. Give Brittany a
I
pass
would
if she shot
I
Donnie
get
in the
it.
back of the head.
I don't blame her for shooting Donnie, but if you do something like that, if you give someone a pass for doing something like that, then that leads the way for giving passes to everybody. Because then, okay, somebody else who raped somebody else, go and shoot him, and you'll get away with it. You can't do. I get it. I totally understand what you're
Fine.
saying. I totally
I'm
get
still
what
getting
you're
a pass,
saying.
but fine.
I
Fine.
agree. I would personally give
No.
her a pass too. I personally would,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I think that if she did come back, we know damn well there would be no pass for her. That they
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to do it. And so I don't think she's ever going to come back and say, I killed him. I just hope that she's living a life somewhere, gets to occasionally see her daughter because they know where she is, and
Mhm.
she's happy and not living with abuse or any of those abusive people anymore.
She,
It
I
would be
mean, it's
nice to think
unfortunate, but
that's what's happening.
if that is what's going on, if she is still alive, I f- I feel for her because
Mm.
she is going to have. I mean, it's been 10 years now, so she'd be 29 now. She would
Some early
have
life, isn't
gone
it?
through many. No, yeah, it is, but just imagine the trauma that she has gone through,
But imagine the
and
release she's got,
yeah,
the
yeah.
freedom, no more abuse,
hmm
no more family circle. No, she would never have been able to walk away from them.
hmm But it'd be so hard to get rid of that dark cloud. You know, you
Absolutely.
can hide it. You can hide that.
Yeah. But you'd
But
never
it's
forget
going
it.
to you'll never forget it, and it's going to that the trauma that that you faced as a child will come back,
Mm.
and it would be
Bless
very
her.
difficult to completely get rid of. So um,
Totally. It would affect you forever.
it's this is I mean this is
So the police
the
believe
and
it's
I
a
said
suicide.
this.
That's the conclusion. Police
Yeah,
believe
police
it's
believe Donnie.
she's a missing
Yeah,
person and it
yeah.
was a suicide.
So Donnie was a suicide, and they believe that Brittany was killed and disposed of.
Oh, okay. So
That is their
that's what they're coming to. Okay.
yes, yeah. So if you were to ask police, that's what they believe. I mean, it's still a missing persons case.
Yeah, because we've got no
Uh,
body. So yeah, you've got
you got
no.
no body. You have no body. You have no evidence of any wrongdoing. You have no evidence of any. Well, you don't have any evidence that she was murdered at Jennifer Gonzalez Moore's house.
No.
Um, Now they believe there is thought that, and I got this from the Monster in the Shadows.
Hmm.
Apparently, it was believed that there was some concrete that had been poured shortly after her disappearance, and Chessie believes that maybe she is buried underneath this concrete, but police won't do anything about it. They won't tear it up, and they won't search. And they have done some sort of like sonar type stuff to see if there's anything under there.
Right.
And there's things that people would be interested in checking out, but I don't think she's going to be there.
Oh, wow. What a case. That is very crazy. I think it's probably going to be one of those ones you'd have to listen to again just to get all the names and who's related to who and who's done what with it. It's just, it's just a very, very crazy case. And
no,
sadly,
there's probably so much more about this case that we have no clue about,
definitely.
right?
Yeah, definitely. I bet the police were actually scratching their heads properly on this one, because that's just the amount of work that must have gone in. When you start looking at this, the police officers must have just been not believing it, because I mean, it's pretty convoluted. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And this is a case that happened in one of our good friend Chelsea's backyard. So
not literally in her backyard, because that would be weird.
No.
Her surname isn't Wood by any chance, is it?
I don't know.
I hope not.
I hope not.
She's not married to anyone called Donnie or anything like that, is she?
No. But it's so sad that there's always jokes about Alabama and people in Alabama marrying their cousins or whatever, and then you come across this story. You come across this story and you're like, oh, Jesus, come on, really, people? Really?
In this day and age, this should really not be happening. That's why I asked you, like, what kind of people they are, because I don't know anything about the area or, the kind of situation. So it was quite interesting to see what kind of family we're talking about. But yeah, thank you very much.
It's a messed up family. It is a really messed up family.
It is a messed up family. So we usually at this point in the show would do a dumb criminal. We haven't done one for a couple of weeks because we've had a different kind of show. So we're back with the dumb criminal. But before we do that, just quickly want to say congratulations, obviously, to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth on her 70 years on the throne this week. Everyone in England has been celebrating. We've just had a 4-day weekend. And yeah, so well done, ma'am. She had tea with Paddington. I don't know if you've probably seen it. It's been all over the internet. They actually had Paddington Bear go to the palace and have tea with the Queen. And he pulls his hat off and says to her, would you like a marmalade sandwich? And she said, it's okay, because I always keep one. She opens her handbag and pulls out a marmalade sandwich.
Shut up.
Seriously, it's brilliant. She's such a good sport. I mean, you don't imagine the Queen of England making jokes and taking part in something like that, but she did. And that's just, our Queen is amazing. So congratulations to her. Because we're never going to see anything like this again in our lifetime. So it's a historical event for us. So it's amazing. So I was really, really proud.
And I heard she's a big fan of our show too. So
totally. Every week she downloads it first. She's the first to download the episodes.
Yeah.
So, dumb criminal for you then, just to lighten the mood slightly before we leave you, because obviously that was a hard hitting case. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Hey, dum-dum head, you's a real jackass.
Oh, indeed. So a guy called Gary Ruff was jailed for 40 months in Glasgow, arming himself with a cucumber, trying to rob a bookmaker's.
What?
Yeah. Now, he had this vegetable covered in a sock, walked into the bookmakers in a place called Shettleston, and brandished it basically at the female worker and demanded cash from her. Now, I don't know, but a gun and a cucumber kind of don't look the same.
No.
I mean, he could have at least tried a banana, it was covered in a sock. I don't know what kind of sock it was, like a New Balance white sock or whether it was like a little tote sock. I don't know.
Well, first off, if you have a gun, why would you put it in a sock to begin with?
Exactly. And the fact that a cucumber is not gun shaped. I mean, it doesn't even look like a double barrel shotgun, does it? They're not very big.
No.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Now, apparently, the prosecutor said that he was armed with a long cylindrical object covered in a black sock, then went to the counter for cash. The worker, a lady called Andrea McIntosh, thought it may be a gun, but refused to give him the money. So the court heard that there happened to be a detective sergeant in the betting shop at the time who overheard this commotion. And the CCTV showed this detective White knocking him to the ground with one blow. They then took the stock off the weapon, revealing that it was a cucumber. Now, initially, he told the detective there at the scene, it was a joke, it was a joke, it was a dare. I'm not going to go to jail for this, am I? And he said, I think it was a really stupid thing to do. I'm not a robber. It was just a joke that went too far. But he did actually get jailed for it. He did actually get jailed for 40 months.
That's not a joke.
It's not.
You don't do those. You don't do those. That's not a joke.
If it was a joke, then he would have done it without the sock on the end of it, wouldn't he? But
yeah.
This guy had no outstanding. He's literally a plumber. He earns like £500 a week. He hasn't got any reason, no debts to rob the bookmakers. He just said it was a joke. It was just a silly joke. I mean, he didn't have any criminal record. Exactly. I mean, if it really was just a dare and it really was just a joke, what an idiot. Because he's now spent 40 months in jail, which probably on good behaviour would go down to 20 months. But still, you're talking 2 years nearly in jail for trying to rob someone with a cucumber. Come on.
That is insane.
I know.
That's
so that is my stupid dumb criminal for this week for you.
Absolutely stupid criminal.
Next week's show we'll be in CrimeCon, so it'll probably end up being our live show from CrimeCon. Will be next week's episode. We're talking to LaDonna Humphrey, who is one of the investigators of the Melissa Witt case. We've actually covered Melissa Witt's case. If you want to brush up about that before we do that episode, if you just go back through our catalogue and find the Melissa Witt case, you'll be able to hear about that and find out a bit more before we do our episode. But not to worry if you don't, because the episode will explain everything. We've got an exclusive from her. So it's going to be something that we're going to tell you about that it's an exclusive to us. So we're very excited to do that. And you can catch us on our socials all weekend, next weekend at CrimeCon. We'll give you some behind the scenes stuff and some tours around. So make sure you keep an eye on our socials for that.
Absolutely. Can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It will. And if you haven't got your ticket yet, go and get yourself your Sunday ticket. We have just had Sunday tickets released. So make sure you do that. You can go to crimecon.co.uk, find yourself your Sunday ticket. Purchase that, use Crimepedia as your code, which will get you 10% off. And we will see you next week at CrimeCon. So for now, be nice.
And bye.
Goodbye.